ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Hey man fam, Kent here. Just want to tell you about what we've got going on over at our VIP club at madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. We just recently released our AMA, in which we answer questions such as, what movies have disappointed us the most? What do we look for in good editing? What bad habits do we have as hosts that the Mam Fam doesn't know about? We answer those questions and more in our monthly AMA that takes place every single month in the VIP. We also just released our throwback episode on Clue. 1985's Clue is celebrating its 35th anniversary, and we discuss some of the plot points, some of the performances, and we wonder why the heck Tim Curry didn't win an Oscar for this one. If you like throwback episodes and you want more from us, just check us out at madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. We've also got an exclusive Discord channel. It's an extremely active community of movie lovers, in which we talk about what we're watching. We discuss our movie draft as it's happening. We've got a Mad About Music channel on there, Mad About Food, Mad About Star Wars, Mad About TV. We've got a little Trust Tree channel in there too. So if you're having a rough day and you just want to talk to somebody who thinks like you do, the Mam Fam Discord is the place for you. So check us out at madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP, become a VIP, and we'll of course see you in the VIP club.
Da, 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 da. You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy. Are you serious? Ladies and germs. Yeah. It's showtime.
The movie of the week this week is The Invisible Man from Universal Pictures, starring Elizabeth Moss and John Cena. Pretty amazing.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah, it was a dead giveaway. It was John Cena when the Invisible Man started rapping in the floating jorts just worked their way across the screen.
Time is now.
I hate to say he's been typecast, but that's a little typecast. I mean, he should be kind of offended. Yeah. Like, we need an Invisible Man. Who can we get?
Not showing a lot
Cena
of range
available
at this point.
Exactly. Exactly. He's shown the range of wrestler or Invisible Man. That's pretty much it. and rapper, too, I should say. Man. I never thought we would discuss any more of these movies, to be quite honest with you, after The Mummy came and went a few years ago. But here we are.
Yeah, the universe just insists on going on.
It did. It did. A little bit of a reboot of this universe, though. Starting out with
the Hollow Man universe. Is that it's a total reboot of that?
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
I guess it's only been 20 years, but it does seem like a little too early
too
for
soon.
a Hollow Man reboot. But it worked. I mean, I enjoyed it. So I just don't know that it was necessary.
Yeah, way less muscular genitals in this one. just meat. Hollow Man was it left nothing to the imagination.
Blurb.
Let's just say.
There's the poster blurb. So is this part of it? Because I know this was Blumhouse. I guess it was Universal. So yeah, it is part of that dark.
I don't think so. I think Invisible Man was with.
This is Universal.
Shoot. Okay, yeah. But I don't think this was part of the deal
it's not part of it.
Originally. It wasn't part of their plan.
It's not the Johnny
They had
Depp
somebody
one.
cast for Invisible Woman that was Angelina Jolie or something.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. And then
it was supposed to be Depp, and then they halted all the projects, and then they changed their plans from a serialized universe to films based on individualized storytelling. So they're just going to do certain ones instead of trying to build the serialized universe. So it's not canon. Shame. I was really waiting for Cruise to bust through. Yeah, no, it was interesting. It would have been certainly more interesting in that way, but I think this was far better. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, this was very. I was out on that whole Universal monster movies. I thought it was a good idea, but it wasn't going to be one for me.
Right.
And then that first one was just so bad.
Yeah, this is
very much new.
This actually was originally going to be the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of scheduled for this exact same release date, to be quite honest. And The Bride of Frankenstein was another one that I think they're going to do.
One.
Still?
Okay.
I keep hearing about that still, that it's still in development. But you know what? I think what happened here is they said, hey, let's not make these big blockbusters. Let's make these mid-level blockbusters, you know? Let's not make these May releases. Let's make these more like March or April releases and crank it down to like $25 to $30 million, $50 million range instead of this $100 to $150 million range, and get a little bit more creative with these things and not have quite the star power we were going to have, not have
And
a
bring
dark
in
universe.
Blumhouse to run it as individual, it looks like. Because they said that this one was never intended to be part of the cinematic universe, is what they said on Real Blend. Which is weird. It's like they changed. It's almost like it was a bad idea because they changed their mind every month. But yeah, they're saying this one was always going to be independent. It's like that seems like a really confusing idea for if you're doing interconnected universe. I don't know why, but it's smart to bring Blum in to do it. I mean, that guy kind of tonally is perfect for
Stephen Blum.
Yeah, Stephen Blum.
Producer Stephen.
Producer Stephen.
He totally
it's gonna be great.
He's got the best tone of all time. Yeah, the Half Price Books' own Stephen
Not
Blum.
anymore.
Oh, he left Half Price Books?
End of an era.
Oh, wow. They lost a good one there. That isn't it.
I won't even go anymore
Yeah.
because Blum's not there. I go and I tell them the reason I'm not shopping here anymore is because my good friend producer Steven's not here, and then I walk out and I go down to Barnes and Noble and pay 4 times as much money.
He's starting
Jokes
his
on
own.
them. You showed them.
Yeah.
He's starting his own Half Price Books ripoff called Half Price Books, right?
Yeah,
Where it's
quarter
just-
price books. Yeah,
It's
not
the price of Half
profitable
Price
at all.
Books. Yeah.
he's losing money hand over fist.
taking
But,
all he's learned from Half Price Books and applying
Yeah.
that to a new business strategy.
Yeah.
Quarter price books. This place is going to be awesome. Shout out producer Steven. We love you. Thank you for producing 600 plus episodes of
I
this
know.
show so far. His work here is not done.
He's kind of I consider him the Robert Evans of the podcast world. He wears a lot of tracksuits. He talks about doing pods. You know, it's more of an executive producer, Steven, now. He's not running the board anymore. He's just kind of an ideas guy. And he helps us with the deal with the studio.
Exactly. Thank you for fielding all those cease and desists,
Yeah.
angry emails. We appreciate that, producer Steven. Keep up the good work. Well, yeah, the first thing that surprised me with The Invisible Man was no Dark Universe logo at the beginning of this one. Thought we would maybe get that. Maybe if they were trying to keep this thing going, that they would tack that onto this. But it seems like that's completely done. It's completely
they
over.
canned it. They canned it last January, apparently. When they brought in Jason Blum, apparently that was part of that, was to kill
Good.
that, which is going to be really weird forever. I kind of want to get a digital version now of The Mummy and see if that's still on there.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to our Mummy episode, listener, if you haven't. But
So confusing. God,
One of my
Such an
best movie
interesting,
draft
confusing
picks.
thing.
Great job by
weird
me.
thing. Yeah.
that was like a top 3 pick too. It was like, I know movie stars.
I bet
And
on
Cruise is gonna cruise.
the only cruise, one of like 3 cruise bombs ever, and I hit on one. It happens to the best of us.
That one was it was amazing. But anyway, yeah. So kind of smart to do it this way, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, 100%.
I was anticipating this one, in terms of being a fan of the old property and saying, wow, there's some potential there. I think if they do it right, I think an Invisible Man movie could work in 2020 with the technology and the ability to do it right. Maybe a smart writer and smart director at the helm. And yeah, so, Elizabeth Moss hasn't really starred in a lot of movies. She does in The Handmaid's Tales and Mad Men, of course, but isn't really a movie star.
Her smell last year was kind of big on the indie circuit, right? Other than that, a few things here or there. Yeah, she's a great actress, though. I think we'll have her in movies forever, I think. But yeah, you're right, Ken.
Yeah, I would certainly put her in the Saoirse Ronan,
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence category of multiple Oscars probably will be included in their
I would be pretty surprised
resume,
if she
at the end of
doesn't
it.
win an Oscar in the next 40 years. I would be,
Right.
not to say she will, but if she doesn't, I'll be like, well, I would have lost money on that.
Exactly. Yeah, she was, I think carried this movie, to be quite honest. I think she had all the movie stardom that you need in this. Mm-hmm. She carried it perfectly fine, and if I was another studio, I would use this as, we need to get her in more stuff as a leading,
For sure.
as a leading lady instead of,
she's great.
yeah, we need to have a more established actress in the leading role, and then her as a supporting role. I think she established herself as a leading lady in this one for sure. So this one
And
comes.
I think Handmaid's Tale can't go on forever, so let's cue up the thing. And former Mavs great Adrian Griffin as Adrian Griffin. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good work by him. Chameleon. as always.
Chameleon, man, that
Just a
lefty.
real team player,
Not only is he invisible, no one ever remembered he was left-handed. And that's always key. Just sneak it in over you.
The best thing about Adrian Griffin, small Mavs tangent, is that he never shot the basketball until he did. He would just randomly shoot once, and now the opposing teams is like, what just happened? He's like 100% from the field because he never shot otherwise. It's a fun time. So anyway, Invisible Man.
Exactly. I don't know if you guys saw Upgrade last year. Did you see that, Brian? Did you ever watch that?
I did not. No.
Okay.
No, I did not see that either. I want to now.
We've had lots of people that have told us that, we should see
You
that.
need to see
And I
that
thought-
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
fun indie sci-fi kind of thing going on, and really interesting. Lee Wanell, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is the writer-director in charge of this, and brought us this reboot adaptation of The Invisible Man. And I wonder what Universal did if they said, they saw Upgrade, they've seen Insidious Chapter 3, they've seen Saw, they've seen some of his other movies that he's been involved in, from a writing perspective, and said, we need to get this guy to do an Invisible Man, because this, in my opinion, is such a different way to do this. It almost felt like he probably might have written this and then said, hey, Universal, I've got this Invisible Man thing, kind of like what Todd Phillips did with the Joker, and
That's
said,
what I thought too. Watch it, but he said that he got a call out of the blue,
Really?
asking him to do it. Yeah, I was doing some research on this. I thought the same thing. It seemed like this was like a passion project that he was able to do within like the studio system. But he said that like literally phone rang and they're like, I actually have the quote right here. It was weird. This film came about in a really random way. It wasn't like I was plugged into some kind of world building. I had just finished Upgrade, and they called me in for the meeting with these Universal execs. I go to this meeting, and they didn't really talk about Upgrade. I mean, they said they liked it, and they moved on. So I'm sitting on the couch thinking, what am I here for? What is this meeting about? And then they started talking about The Invisible Man. So that sounds like Jason Blum actually was, smart enough to see this pairing, which is what good producing is. He's a talented guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That is great. It's great to hear. I didn't do much research of this. I just got out of this movie, to be quite honest with you, and took my notes and came in here and got on the air. So I didn't get to do much background on this one, but I'm familiar with his work. I've seen Upgrade. I've seen the Saw movies, and I've seen Insidious. Remember, Brian, when you and I did the Insidious VR experience thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and I went. That was at Comic-Con, right?
It was at Dallas Comic-Con, like, I don't know, 2014
we had these like VIP
maybe?
treatment, like a tour. I mean, they were so kind to do that, and then they took us to this thing, and I was like, "Well, I'm not interested in this at all." And they're like, "No, you got to see it. It's really cool." And blah blah blah. And I went and I sat down and I closed my eyes as hard as I could, and I waited until the guy said it's over, and I said, "Okay, cool," and got out, and that was it.
You
was
didn't
the
even
exact
look
same
at
thing.
the VR
He
thing.
was giving me all these, like, if you look over in the corner, you'll be able to see, just anywhere you look in the
you're just
room,
going
you'll be able to see
weird.
stuff. And I was like, okay, well, dude, I'm not going to do that. So you can go 12 seconds faster by just starting this thing and being done, because I'm not going to do any of this. So
A little inside baseball there for you, listener. So the thing is, you basically put this VR headset on, and when the thing turns on, you're like sitting in the middle of this living room in the movie Insidious, and this old lady is like sitting in front of you, like with drinking tea or something.
That always ends well. Always ends
Yeah.
well.
freaked out, yeah.
And then you're in the chair, and then things just start coming through the windows, and like You can't move. You can't go anywhere. And then Dermot Mulroney comes in and saves the day. I think, or wait, was it David Duchovny or?
Might have been Dylan McDermott, but I didn't have my eyes open, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, there's. I wish there was a way to pinpoint that.
There's no
but I
way
don't
to
think
know.
there is a way.
No, there's no way to
There's
know.
literally no way to know.
Right.
That's the great mystery. One of life's great mysteries. It's kind of like, what is time? There's just no way to really know.
Right.
Yeah, it
No
depends on the
way.
perspective, really.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It
To
breaks
some people,
IMDb
it's kind of
if you
like
search
that.
it. It's tough.
It's like we're on the 5-year anniversary of that dress that went viral that was like blue and gray to some people and pink to other people. That's what it is. Some people see Dermot Mulroney and some people see Dylan McDermott, and there's no way to know which one. It's something about the cones in your eyes or something. But neither one actually exist. They're
Yes.
both a construct.
They need to start using that when you go to your optometrist. Like, better one or better two, and it's Dylan McDermott, and then better two, better three.
How many roles has Dermot
Like,
Mulroney?
I don't know, man. I'm very confused now. Yeah.
How many roles has Dermot Mulroney gotten from agents thinking they're calling Dylan McDermott?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Hey.
man, I love the practice. And he's like,
He's like,
he just is
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. Yep. Don't know what that has to do with me, but great. Yep. Love the
Yeah,
X
David E.
Files.
Kelly.
Great. Yeah, so good. Anyway, here we go with.
Don't mean to go down that road for the 40th time ever on the show. Sorry, guys.
And yeah, we'll continue as long as it presents
Yeah.
itself as a clear path. I'm not a big Saw guy either. Not really into
Brian
that.
is. Brian's a huge
Oh my
Saw
gosh.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you saw this one, Brian guy.
Yeah, I had reports via
Yeah.
the Discord that it was more suspense than horror, and it looked really good too. And then the Rotten Tomato score was very high, so I felt like that needed. I felt like I could handle this. It was fine. I didn't have any problems.
Really?
It wasn't. Yeah, the trailer was appropriate in showing how, I think at least, how it was going to be suspense, not the stuff that, like, Jordan Peele. I think I've learned my lesson with Jordan Peele movies, that they're not nearly as like actually scary, like I can't sleep, as they seem in the trailer. And so I'm gonna take that into consideration for future Jordan Peele movies. But this was closer to something like that, where I was like, I think it was pretty clear that it wasn't like gonna terrify me and keep me up at night. So
This was kind of like tonally, like right what I like in a quote unquote scary movie for me. Like I love this on that front. Mm-hmm. This is the kind that hardly ever exists. This is why I continue to go see horror or thriller films, hoping for this, and it's like 1 out of every 10 delivers. Lately, they're mostly Jordan Peele made, but this one was cool, really cool. And Moss is go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to go to you first, actually, for general thoughts, Richard. So
Yeah.
you're going to run down maybe just general thoughts on this one.
No, I mean, this is for me, I think, a really high degree of difficulty performance for Moss, because like you said, Kent, I mean, you've just got to put this thing on your back for long periods of time, stretches, and you have to be not only believable and scream queeny or whatever, but you also have to be interesting for all that time and be someone that the audience roots for. And yeah, I think I mean, she's obviously someone that's been around for 10 years. You know who she is, but one of those few people now that kind of had to make the TV to movies leap over the last couple of years, like I said, with her smell and a few other things, because that line doesn't really exist anymore as much, but it did kind of feel like she needed something like this to, for whatever reasons, the studios or whatever to she's not just a quote unquote streaming or TV person. So I'm excited to see her in more films and more things like this she's choosing really interesting roles. And this is a really, really cool one. And to me, this kind of movie is only as good as your star, and they knocked out of the park. So I love this movie. What about you, Brad Guy?
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I love Elizabeth Moss. I think she's just one of the best actresses in the whole industry, and I think part of that probably comes from you and I, Richard. Having watched Mad Men from, I don't think I started day one, but like second season.
Yeah, same.
And
That's
she's
exactly
so
right.
good. She's so good in Mad Men, and in the early seasons, it was kind of easy to overlook her because of John Hamm and everybody else who's in it. It's just such a powerful show, and there's so much presence. And then also her character was supposed to be kind of background in the early going, but I don't know where the flip is, but by about season 3 or season 4, you're just like, oh, actually, like might be Elizabeth Moss's show. Like she's so stinking good, and they wrote very well for her too, and she just came through on that over and over. So I've always been a big fan. I don't know that I would have told you that she could be a movie star, and I don't know if this is necessarily a movie star role, but this is definitely like she is leading a movie that a lot of other actresses I think would have been less successful in. The movie would have been less successful, and the performance would have been too. But she's great, and it's inevitable that she's going to get forgotten, just like Lupita did with Us last year. I mean, it's like I can feel the angst and anger about that already. But because genre and everything, and early in the year and blah 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 blah. But it doesn't take away from the fact that she's fantastic, and this is a really solid movie. I mean, it's the best movie I've seen this year. That's not saying a lot because it's barely March, but it would not surprise me at all.
You saw the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn?
I'm not sure. I think I saw Birds of Prey. I'm not sure
Harley
which
Quinn
version of
Birds of Prey.
Okay. The movie, the title literally changed while it was in the movie. That's going to be something I remember at the end of the year. But my point is, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this ended up being top 10 of the year for me. It's really, really good. And I'm with you, Richard. This is the perfect amount of suspense and horror for me. It works so well on that level. And yeah, there are some stupid things and stupid choices that get made here and there, but it's pretty mild compared to most horror movies, and it just goes. And I like that. I like that it doesn't spend too much time getting bogged down in the technology or the buildup or anything like that. That you're, 20 minutes into the movie and she's already getting terrorized by this person. And I think that's smart. I think that keeps the action going really well, and it allows that suspense to not build the same way that I kind of expected it to. I kind of thought we might not see that guy, see that she's getting terrorized by invisible people until later in the movie. But instead, it lets the development kind of go in a little bit different way and get that terror kind of pumping earlier than I might have expected. So I thought that was a really smart choice too. Yeah, I really dug it a lot. I'm very impressed by this movie.
Absolutely. I'm just impressed by the vision from Lee Whannell. I'll go with Whannell now. So from now on, it's Whannell.
I would change every 10 minutes. That's what I would do.
Okay, cool. I'll try. I don't know if I can do that, but I'll give it a shot.
I'll start a timer.
Okay,
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So I'm just impressed by the originality of this, the smartness, of this, if that's a word. But I totally didn't expect this to be as clever as it was, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was going to be a little bit cheesy in areas, but maybe with some good performances, maybe with some good jump scares, what we typically get in a horror movie. And anytime you see a horror movie that's on Rotten Tomatoes in the 90s, it's special.
Yeah.
Not often good horror movies, some classic ones are in the 50s on there, just because horror movies are not for everybody. And I totally get that, totally understand it. But this is a movie that I think most people would enjoy. You're right, Richard. It had the suspense that I kind of look for in these. It's the suspense that I feel like is often, forgotten. There's not a movies like this that tonally anymore. Jordan Peele would probably be, something like Get Out would be similar to this, but he kind of brought that back with Get Out. There were the Hitchcockian style of horror movies that you don't really get anymore.
This was very, mid to late career Hitchcock kind of tonal, with modern. That's a great pull by you, Kent.
It did. And I did see a note that the score was influenced by Psycho.
Yeah.
I get that a lot, and the score of this movie was fantastic. It made so much impact. I saw this movie in the Dolby Atmos sound.
Oh, cool.
Oh my gosh. So cool. So cool to see this. I imagine this will be in the conversation for some sound mix, sound editing awards later in the year, just because it did have a lot to do with the sound, and how you feel was predicated a lot on the sound, and often the sound is sort of secondary, but I feel like they really thought about the sound at the outset with this movie and making that really, really stand out, and it did to me. So if you have not seen this movie yet, I would suggest going and seeing it at Dolby Atmos sound and enjoy that if you can in a big, nice theater. But man, I really don't know where to start with this one other than I'm kind of floored by how many twists there were. I'm floored by the execution. I'm floored by the performances. I'm floored by the direction, the editing, the sound editing.
Brian had a good note.
I don't think the screenplay, like the dialogue itself, was great.
Yeah.
But I felt like the beats of the plot and, from getting to point A to point B and, the twist happens here and she finds out this here, that stuff really worked. But I don't know if the dialogue itself was super, super great.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sure.
Go ahead, Brian. What were you going to say, Richard?
Oh, Brian had a good note that I wanted to touch on, too. I mean, this thing hits the gas right away, which I really appreciate.
That's true.
So many movies... so you're willing to forgive some. You're right. There is some kind of sloppy dialogue, but on things, but it's just fine for this kind of film. But it's so many movies beat around the bush so long with a setup, and you're just like, by the time I'm here to see the Invisible Man and be scared of him. So and this was really smart about that.
Yeah, it gets right to the point on that. I really didn't expect that. I thought it would be. A lot of times we generate suspense by just drawing it out for as long as possible, which works with Jaws. I mean, it doesn't always work with every movie that we do. And so I appreciate it. We just got right to it and we're going and it was fun. It made for a fun experience in the midst of it being very suspenseful and terrifying.
Yeah. So her character wakes up in the middle of the night in kind of a panic attack situation. It was like, 3 a.m. panic attack? Well, I can relate to that. Nice. I'm in. Cool. I got this. And so that happens. She's escaping the house she's escaping the clutches, essentially, of Adrian, her lover, husband, boyfriend, and...
Small forward.
And star of Entourage, Adrian Grenier.
Ball-handling wing.
Yeah. Aquaman. And... By the way, Lee Whannell was actually in Aquaman. A little weird coincidence.
Was he the chain on the wallet?
Yeah, I did. I heard the chain from back behind the camera. The chain was. So, yeah, she's leaving the house. She's escaping the clutches of this guy who's been emotionally abusive, physically abusive, all those things. And her sister comes and picks her up in the middle of the night. And we get sort of the first jump scare of the movie where Adrian punches through the window of the car as it's driving away. I was like, oh man, wow.
Yeah.
And
really
that was
loud too.
Yeah, it was very loud and certainly made you think, okay, this is going to get pretty intense. I think that was maybe in the first 3-4 minutes of the movie. Really cool house that they lived in.
Yeah.
Really like Ex Machina Parasite kind of house that they live in. And so Adrian is this genius billionaire guy who works for this company called Optics. And Richard, any relation to Click Optical? Yeah. You guys know, you've heard of Optics in your industry?
Yeah, we have. This is basically my life.
It's a big, you're working on the need to go invisible, the application of said invisibility and such. So expect Richard to fully fund this podcast in the next couple of years.
Going forward,
yeah,
that's the plan.
I'm excited about doing this full time. Well, she escapes the house, and we find out later that she is in Adrian's will as the sole proprietor of stuff. He's committed suicide after she leaves, but she still is getting haunted by him. The invisible version of him. And I thought there were some really fun sequences in the movie that made you think, okay, she might be crazy, but also we know that there's somebody here. But I felt like the coincidental evidence of said haunting or whatever wasn't convincing enough to convince the people around her that she was being haunted by this invisible man. It wasn't. they slowly built up to that fact, and I really appreciated that. It wasn't like, oh, you've left. Oh, wow, he's discovered how to be invisible. Now he's haunting me. It took her a while. It was almost like an Unsane level build where, is she insane or is this all really happening to her?
Mm-hmm.
And
she may be wrong. She may be crazy. That's sort of the way I like to think about it.
Should write a song about that.
I should.
That sounds very lyrical, actually.
get in touch with Gnarls Barkley. I think they could maybe use that word crazy in a song.
I prefer their brother Ted.
So she, when she first goes to the hospital, I liked the little nod to the original Invisible Man movies. Did you notice that, Brian, with the guy being wheeled out and covered in bandages, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was cool.
Kind of had that Dick Tracy vibe, that Invisible Man kind of look, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I expected an homage to a certain degree, but didn't think it would be that subtle, and I appreciated that. I liked also what Adrian's brother said, who sort of becomes the antagonist of the movie, protagonist, helper. You don't really know what to think of him, whether he's evil or if he's trying to help her. But what he says to her in terms of, he's just trying to get inside your head. He knows that he has a psychological hold on her. And even if he was gone forever, that he would still psychologically be controlling her. And I didn't expect so much satirical commentary on emotional abuse, controlling relationship type of stuff, you know?
Totally. And that's been the cool thing about, it used to be if you wanted kind of insight into things that are happening in society, at least in film, satirically, it would always be in a comedy. But now it's kind of like horror movies. A lot of times, obviously we start with Get Out and things like that. Have a lot to say now, which can be super ham-handed if handled incorrectly. Because sometimes you just want to go and be scared. But I feel like some of the smartest satire, or at least like representation of like zeitgeisty issues, are in horror films right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I thought one of the most literal interpretations of what would happen if we had the ability to be invisible in 2020 and we wanted to take revenge on somebody. We just go to their computer and type an email to somebody.
Right.
Because there's
I do
no
that work
way.
all the time to people.
Right. It's the old, you left your Facebook logged in here. Let me type a little stuff. But
I've gotten so many ministers fired. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
it is been
Classic
worth it,
move. Yeah, totally worth it. You're working your way up that food chain one at a time.
It's so funny because she's like, wow, you sent me this email. She's like, no, I didn't. She's like, yeah, you did. Here's your email address. There's just no way for her to circumstantially dispute that evidence there. And that's just mind-blowing how something so simple can do so much damage, and it far surpasses the, what would you do if you were invisible? Well, I would go and, sneak into restaurants, eat all this food, do all this stuff. It's like, man, something so easy of just sitting at someone's computer and typing an email can just ruin their life, and ruin their family, essentially, with her sister, and that hit home for me. It's like, wow, I thought it would be much more literal in this movie and it does get very literal, but I liked that he kind of chips away at her life that way through these small social aspects.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if it's just the title and it's coincidence or if it was purposeful, but there's a little bit from this there's some similarities to Klosterman's book, The Visible Man, and I thought that was interesting.
I was going to bring that up later. Yeah,
just kind of use a little bit of the notes on that to help maybe modernize this into a 2020 movie instead of I think this book was written in 1897. So
H.G. Wells.
Yeah, so that was. I mean, I think that was smart. That's not my favorite Klosterman book by any means, but there's some really interesting. I felt like that was one of his more interesting essays or short stories that just turned into a whole book, and maybe wasn't that great of a book.
If you don't know the plot of that book, it's basically like a man has invented an invisible suit, and he goes to therapy, and then becomes obsessed with his therapist. So,
right,
and she never really knows if he's there or not. And it's the same. That's a good comp.
But I think that helped just kind of bring a little modernity to it, if that's I don't even know if that's a word, but modernizing it a bit, and that was cool. Yeah. There's things in that you're right with like some of the dialogue and such where you kind of want to be like, you hope that were you in this situation that the people in your life would be like, okay, like there's no way you sent this email, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on that. But they do a very good job of creating.
There's no email I'm not capable of sending.
But they do a good job creating an atmosphere where it feels reasonable to think that she's completely crazy. And that goes a long way to furthering the plot and the setup for how things play out in the back half of the second act and then into the third act.
We're going to get into a little bit of spoiler talk here with The Invisible Man. But you know what's invisible sometimes for us guys and girls? It's our hair. The older we get, the more hair we lose. It's just the fact of life. No one gains more hair the older they get. And there are different ways to combat that hair loss. And there are some awkward ways to combat that hair loss as well. But the least awkward way that I have found, and trust me, I have looked everywhere, is our friends over at Keeps. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. So in the case of our podcast, 2 out of the 3 of us will eventually have some problems with this. But there is some good news. Keeps has proven treatments that can combat the symptoms of hair loss and keep the hair on your head at half the cost of your local pharmacy. You don't have to go broke to avoid going bald. Prevention is key. Keeps has revolutionized the way men are treated for hair loss. Thanks to Keeps, you don't have to go to a doctor's office for your hair loss prescription. Now you can just visit a doctor online. Get your hair loss medication delivered to your home discreetly. No more waiting rooms, no more pharmacy checkout lines. Keeps has you covered. So, trust me, I have done it all. I've gone to doctors, I've done surgeries, I've done prescriptions, and honestly, I wish I had known about Keeps before going through all that stuff, because Keeps has better results. It's cheaper, and you don't have to be embarrassed by talking to a bunch of physicians. You don't have to drive anywhere. That's one hell of a deal, if you ask me, for getting to keep your hair. So, Keeps are offering our listeners here at Mad About Movies a special deal. If they want to keep their hair, they can take action at keeps.com/mad. You receive your first month of treatment for free. That's Keeps, KEEPS.com/mad. Receive that first month free of hair loss treatment. It's Keeps, KEEPS.com/mad. Keep your hair, guys. Keep it with Keeps. Big spoilers coming up right now. Right now, big spoilers for Invisible Man, if you haven't seen it. So, it all comes kind of to, crashing in her face when she goes to see her sister at the restaurant, it is, I guess. And she's like, hey, it wasn't me who emailed you. Trust me, he's stalking me, my ex. He didn't want me to get away. He's controlling me, all this stuff. And essentially the Invisible Man is right there the whole time, takes out a knife and slits her sister's throat, puts it in Cecilia's hand and walks away. And then everybody turns around and's like, what? Oh my God, and basically frames her for murder in less than 5 seconds in this public place. And to be honest, going into that scene, I was so thankful. I was like, oh, thank you, Cecilia, for going into a public place where probably nothing can happen, right? Because if it's in public, everybody would see. But I thought that was a really cool setup by Leigh Whannell to frame that moment in a public setting, instead of like murdering her at her house or whatever. It threw off my expectations for what I was expecting in that scene to what it ended up happening. And at that moment, my jaw dropped. I was like, wow, that was amazing. That was honestly incredible. writing and setup and all of that, and really subverted what I thought was going to happen there. But Brian, any thoughts on that moment?
No, that was great. It wasn't exactly what I expected in the moment. In hindsight, I was like, I absolutely should have been expecting that. But it caught me off guard, and really did. I mean, this movie does a great. You guys mentioned earlier the sequence with him like pounding the glass and shattering the window, and there's a couple, but it really does bust out into small moments of very intense violence, and the score and the sound mix on this was so good that it felt like somebody was in the room with you trying to hit you and stuff. I mean, it was very well done on that. So yeah, that moment, like it's shocking, and but it's very effective in its shockiness. There was no again, like in hindsight, I probably should have seen it coming, but I guess I wasn't completely there yet. And it's just like, oh, okay, this is how we're doing this. This is going to get hardcore. And then there's more of those moments from there on. But I thought that was a really good setup for where the movie goes for the next, 30 or 40 minutes to the end. Yeah, it caught me by surprise for sure.
Yeah, I guess I should rewind just a tad here and point out a few different things. So when Cecilia first exits the house, she goes and gets her safety deposit bag or whatever it is with her Social Security card and some valuables and things like that, and leaves the house. It's like a kind of a hidden compartment in their closet. And I like the way she used that hidden compartment when she goes back to the house to look for evidence and finds this suit, right? So I was always wondering what kind of technology was at stake here. I thought it had something to do with the drugs that they had hinted at earlier in the movie, and that there was some kind of drug concoction that created invisibility, like we've seen in, for instance, Hollow Man. But I thought it was very clever that they used a suit for the Invisible Man instead of it being, oh, he's just turned himself invisible with some laser gun or something, I expected something like that in this, but I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised that it seemed like a believable scenario. And according to Lee Winnell, this technology is not that far away.
It's been 10 minutes, Kent. You want to go?
Wannell?
Yeah.
Lee Wannell. According to Lee Wannell, this technology is being tested out and can actually happen. Essentially, all they're doing is they have a million camera angles, and they just take that data and flip it around, It's kind of the same technology that they use in Avengers for the hover helicarrier thing in order for them to go invisible, is just using that data and flipping it around so that it looks invisible. I thought that was a really clever way to go about this instead of some magic or some kind of curse or whatever you want to say, biology, I don't know. But I didn't expect a suit, but when we got the suit, I was like, okay, that's awesome. And the execution of that was really cool. One other note on that, when she goes up in the attic and she realizes that he's actually in the attic, when she calls his phone and she hears it vibrating up in the attic and that he's been hiding up there to terrorize her. Mm-hmm. And she goes up there and I don't know if this was a little homage, maybe, guys. Maybe Lee Wannell is a listener to the podcast, but did you notice the white face paint? That little Johnny Depp homage there for
what could have been.
That was just left over from when they were planning that movie.
They were in development and like, well, we bought all this white paint. We've got to use it somehow.
Yeah. That was $6.5 million of the $7 million budget.
And it wasn't even for the movie. It was just like personally, like when he wants to
go out trailer
for coffee. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I thought that was funny, but yeah. So on the note of the safety deposit area, the secret compartment, I like that she stashed the suit away when she went back there, because you knew that was going to come into play at a later point, and boy, did it. I thought
it was really stupid in the moment, but I mean, I know, okay, obviously this is going to be a thing that we come back to, but in the moment you're like, that seems like a really bad plan. Like, why don't you have your phone recording video of this suit and all these other things? And I get it. It's MacGuffins, and it paid off really well. But in the moment I was like, oh, that feels like a mistake. It's not a great choice here.
After she kills her sister, or is framed for killing her sister, they take her immediately into an insane asylum. And I just love that. Her just screaming, "No, it's the Invisible Man. He's stalking me. He's in the room with us." They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, lady. Yeah, cool." You know? And it's such a thing where if you were working there, you'd be like, "Oh, this lady thinks there's an invisible man that killed her sister, but she literally had the knife when we found her," and all this stuff, you know? Man, I feel like they really play with reality on that one too, a little bit. And I think Elizabeth Moss really just, that was the Oscar moment there, you know, and she's being drugged into the insane asylum, like crying, screaming, like all the emotion that she could muster was shown in that moment. Yeah. And she did a great job.
She's great. Yeah. That sequence had a bit of a Soderbergh vibe. You remember the, shoot, I forgot now. What's the title of the one that he did about the insane asylum?
That's what I said, Unsane.
Yeah.
Earlier,
sorry,
yeah.
I missed. Sorry. Yeah, that reminded me a lot of that sequence. It was a very Soderberghy sort of way to do things. It was very cool.
It was good. So we find out also while she's in the insane asylum that she's pregnant, and then we get a little bit more political here with, well, actually, in the will is that if you're claimed to be insane or a criminal, then basically the money goes to somebody else, right? And then it becomes, we want you dead, but we want the baby to live so that the baby can inherit the will and not you, and all this stuff. I was blown away by just the amount of twists in there, and that was just another twist that I didn't expect with that. Did you expect that at all?
No, not I mean, that was
I guess
cool
twisting the fact that Adrian's brother was the bad guy is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
or could have been the bad guy. We don't know. I mean, we'll get to that, but
yeah, no, I wasn't necessarily expecting the pregnancy bit. But yeah, it made for a fun twist. I wanted to ask you guys. I did start to get the vibe at some point. I guess probably when he showed up to the insane asylum again to like talk to her and give her the paperwork and all that sort of stuff. I started to get is this going to be like a Scream kind of vibe where we're going to have two killers? Is that what this is going to end up? Did y'all feel that way? Were you picking up those vibes as well, or was I just kind of out there?
That's an interesting idea. I wasn't there, but yeah, elaborate more. What do you?
I don't know. Just in that sequence, and I mean, it kind of turned out right. I mean, he ends up being the second killer, and so or however that, I don't know exactly how you would say that played out, but he was in on it at least. But I started to feel like, this is going to be like Scream again, a movie where there are two killers, not just one. And like I said, I guess that kind of came to he's in on it, but I don't know I don't know where you really think he began to be in on it, or whether he was just full on a patsy at the end, or what. But
I don't know. I think it could go either way, to be honest with you. And I think Lee might have intended it that way, because essentially we'll talk about this final sequence where she's busting out of the asylum and he's trying to kill her at the same time. That was an incredible sequence. I mean, killing all those doctors and everything all those police security officers and everything was really well done. But I mean, essentially when she kills him with the gun, he's just running away. So, I mean, if there were two suits or whatever, and one of them was Adrian and one of them was the brother, she kills him while he's running away. So it could have just been the brother, like, trying to get out of there. And she shoots him and then pulls off his mask. And it's like, oh my God, it's the brother, you know? And he could have been escaping that whole time, right? Or avoiding detection, whatever you want to say. But what blew my mind about that also was, she goes, I guess later in the movie, she says, oh, there's a, when they say, okay, we believe you now, we see all the evidence, they say, yeah, there's people at the insane asylum that were eyewitnesses. I was like, well, isn't there like 9,000 cameras at that thing that would have said, well, why is this guy flying around being shot by no, and she runs out of the asylum and there's like a giant wall of monitors as she's running out. I thought there's so many of the plots, so many of the little, twists had to do with security cameras, deleting footage, knowing where the cameras are, things like that, that I thought that would have been a bigger player, and it would be the actual camera footage of what happened there. But there was an eyewitness, so that's all they needed, right? They didn't need any of the evidence, or maybe it was deleted. I don't know. But that seemed like a little oversight, little plot hole there. But let's move to this last scene. So she's at dinner with Adrian, and I don't know. How did you interpret what happened, Brian?
I love that. I thought it was a really dark.
I came out of this on fire with that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I thought that was just that was a perfect ending and fit the theme. Kind of what you were talking about earlier, Richard, with like, we're looking to horror movies to have for our social commentary, not comedy. Like that was
This is a lot about the state of society, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and really, that was awesome. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a really smart way to end that, and I loved her. I loved that she went into it with like what she says to her friend coming out of there of like, no, I went in hoping that he would, admit that he did this stuff, but then he didn't do it. But having the like the backup plan of like, and if he doesn't, then I'm going to murder him. And I thought that was a really cool, smart, dark ending that I dug. I thought that took it. It's not quite the same as like Parasite, where I said that the last 20 minutes takes that movie from a really good movie to a great movie. It's not quite to that level, but it definitely ended on a high note and left me feeling like, dadgum, they knew what they were doing with this one. That was a
kind
really
of a cool
smart choice.
Pop, kind of a pulpy, like, exploitation movie ending to this, where it ends up being a revenge movie in some ways, which is cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And what I hinted at earlier about the secret compartment, where she's like, "Oh, let me go to the washroom real quick," and she goes to the secret compartment to put on the suit to come back, only to get him to quote unquote kill himself in front of the cameras. Right? Mm-hmm. I love that. And then she takes off the suit, walks back into the frame of the camera and calls 911 like, oh my God, what happened? I love that. The ingenuity of it all. Like you said, the social commentary of the revenge and the, not taking no crap from anyone kind of thing. And the fact that her friend was listening and he kind of agreed to be an eyewitness to her benefit through the audio kind of portion of it. I love that. I love that ending. And I mean, this movie could have ended several different ways. I mean, this movie could have ended with, oh my gosh, the brother was there, but was it the brother? Oh, we will never know. The end, But I agree, Brian, with that last kind of epilogue moment of them at the dinner and having that relationship moment really did cement this as a really good movie.
Yeah, well, and it gives you. I liked that it also kind of gave the audience an out, because the whole thing when he says surprise or whatever, if you had any doubt as an audience member that this guy's a sociopath who's been doing this, and he shouldn't, I think it was pretty obvious through the point that he for sure was doing all this stuff and was super in on it, if not completely the only part, whatever it is. But that little moment it's a nice note, because it lets the audience be like, okay, we know that this guy's it, and she's going to go get her justice, and we can feel good about that and not have any reservations. I thought that was a very smart little choice too, to have that one little throw in that, I don't know. Anyway, gives the audience an excuse to be like, yep, okay, murder this guy,
Right. Well, I mean, I
always yell that in movies, though. Murder this guy.
Yeah, in Sonic it was a little.
You would stop. Yeah,
no, in Sonic it was
inappropriate
needed.
in Toy Story 4.
Well, that one I'll take back. But
yeah, it should have been murder this fork, not guy. You're going to be more specific. Well, man, this blew me away. I did not. I mean, when I saw this on the release schedule, I'm like, okay, that'll be fine at best. You know, it'll be
I think we all did.
third place on the weekend. Fun horror, maybe.
What a gift for early in the year.
But I did not expect this to be smart, have any kind of commentary aspect to it. Didn't expect Elizabeth Moss to just blow me away like she did. Like, I love her. I think she's great, but I mean, this felt like another Unsane, to be honest with you, Brian. It felt like a really, like, okay, that's cool, and kind of tonally, I see what they're doing there, and there's some stuff to take away, but I mean, this is far and away the best movie of the year so far, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, if this one's not in the top of my list, not at the top, but if it's not in the conversation for my top 10, it'll be a great 2020, because this is a Kent Garrison movie for sure.
For sure.
On all levels.
Totally.
So, with that, you want to hit grades here?
Let's do it.
I'm going to give this a solid A, man. Just close to an A+. It's between an A and an A+. So, I'm kind of like a 96 in my mind, if I'm thinking. So, yeah, that's mine. What about you, Ron?
Yeah, that's right where I'm at. I'm going to give it an A, but being as it is so early in the year, it's possible that a second viewing on this or just a little more time to think about it may bring it up. I mean, it's that good. I'm very surprised. I thought even with the reviews, even with the Rotten Tomato scores and everything, I was like, this should be good. It's better than that. I came home and told my wife, we've got friends over tonight. I was like, it's really, really good, guys. I'm very impressed with it. So,
what if they had started the Dark Universe with a movie like this?
We'd be so fired up.
Oh my gosh. I would be like, I'm all...
honestly, this should be part of the conversation. Do more of this. This movie costs $7 million. Make more movies like that and give them wide releases. Make good movies with good actors for smaller budgets and stop. I mean, I just kept going back and thinking about Call of the Wild last week. That cost $125 million to make or whatever, and should have been half that. Use practical effects when you can. Get good actors. Get people behind the camera who kind of know what they're doing, and just make decent movies that can turn into very good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a smarter mold than so many of the other movies. That
7x its budget in the first weekend.
First week. Yeah. It doesn't have to make $200 million to be extremely profitable that way. It's just, come on, guys. Think this through a little bit.
Wonder if they take this momentum and this tone and say, oh, let's do a Frankenstein for $15 million. And it's about some crazy modern scientist that goes nuts.
You know, I not that they have to be connected. And I hope they're not, because that's a little bit of a force, because what are you going to do? Unite everyone with this? But I always thought that was kind of a weird idea. But I think if you have Blum doing this, he can serve as the Feige. And obviously he knows kind of unsung filmmakers that might have a good take on it. And if he could just keep cranking out $10 million every time, one or two a year of this sort of thriller with like some twists on an existing property, I think they could make... You know, they could easily 10x their budget on them every year and just have a nice little business going with Universal, and then, you know, throw out a Fast and Furious movie every year and have a pretty good, you know, kind of rebuild that studio that way.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah.
All right, that's The Invisible Man.
I'm going to grade it too.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. I think I'm going to bump up its average here. I'm going to go A+. Just so that we kind of brings up, since you guys were kind of torn between the two, that'll get our average grade kind of right where we need to be.
Well, there we go. It's definitely worth the time and definitely worth a rewatch, I think. I'm excited to see this one again. And, man, there's so much that can be done with $10 million. It blows my mind that anything costs more than $50 million nowadays. I mean, unless it's the Avengers or something.
I know.
It just, I don't get it. I don't, you know. The fact that Call of the Wild cost $150 million is
crazy.
You could do these movies for 20 to 25 is fine. I mean, they don't have to be 7. Right. You know, this one I'm glad. I mean, they obviously didn't, you're not just going to burn money to burn it. But if there's something that needs to be a little bigger scale, then do it for 20 and these will still be profitable. But none of these should be $100 million budgets at all.
No, I think they learned their lesson.
It's kind of the charm of those early monster movies. And you know what I mean? It kind of goes. I don't know. It's just very odd. It's just like they come into the room with, well, first of all, it's going to cost $200 million. And you're like, well, but why? There's no reason that anyway. So I'm glad that this. I hope movies like this are a little bit of a guiding light for the studios and how to do this, because this is so much better than what you're going to get from a lot of there's no way that a $200 million version of this is any better than this movie, you know? And let's think these things through a little bit, y'all.
Absolutely. So hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Thank you for listening. Brian, where can I find you online?
You can find me on the Twitter, Beagle12. You can find my writing at madaboutmoviespodcast.com and the Mad About Movies podcast newsletter. Richard, where can we find you?
Yeah, same spots except Richard Barden on social media. Kent, where can I find you?
At Kent Garrison on social media. Find all of our episodes at madaboutmoviespodcast.com. Get over in that Discord. We want to hear what you thought about The Invisible Man over on our spoilers channel. We want to hear what you think about the show over on our show discussion channel. And we want to see what you've been watching. Maybe get some weekly recommends in there. We got channels for all that stuff on the Discord for our VIPs. So check it out, madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP to get involved with that. Next week, we'll be talking about Onward, the new Pixar movie, one of two that'll be coming out this year. So we'll kick off maybe the official summer movie season a little bit early this year in March. We've got a lot of big movies coming out. We got A Quiet Place. We've got Fast and Furious, a lot of stuff coming up in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll see you at this. Bye.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah. The salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.